12 Druze children were killed by a Hezbollah rocket over the weekend on Saturday, I believe. And the Washington Post cover page was a picture of that funeral, but the headline wasn't about how these 12 Druze children were killed while playing soccer. It said Israel responds with rocket attacks to Lebanon, and I'm paraphrasing. It's not in front of me. There's just one of so many examples. So do you think the media is more on the silly side or on the sinister side?
Well, it's a bit of both, actually. I mean, there is some media like Al Jazeera that is clearly on the sinister side. I mean, Al Jazeera has had quite a number of their so-called journalists now inside Gaza revealed to have been taking part in the terrorism, including one contributor to Al Jazeera who was found to have been holding Israeli hostages in his home in Gaza, and was filing copy for other press agencies, moaning about the situation of the civilians in Gaza whilst having hostages in his home. I mean, if that's not sinister, I don't know what is. A lot of the press is deeply silly and uninformed. Often, though, I have to say, with a sinister tinge. That disgraceful Washington Post front page was something. It just immediately reminded me of the first war in Israel that I saw, which was the 2006 war, the Second Lebanon War, the Hezbollah war, which looks terribly like it might happen again. Because, of course, Hezbollah were meant to pull their weaponry and fighters back, terrorists back into Lebanon. They didn't, and the UN hasn't bothered to police it, and Hezbollah's rebuilt up its arsenal of 150 or 60,000 rockets in the last 18 years. It reminded me so much when I saw that Washington Post cover of that conflict, because it was the same thing then. Hezbollah fires all these rockets into Israel. Israel responds, and you will see the next day, I remember it so clearly in 2006, you would see the next day Israel attacks Lebanon. As if Israel was just eager to attack Lebanon and there was nothing that the Lebanese had done. No, this is Hezbollah. This is Iran's proxy in Lebanon trying to start a war and carrying out unbelievable atrocities. And that the press would join in on reporting the response rather than focusing on the primary issue is completely typical, I'm afraid, of a large proportion of the media. They do this consistently. It was the same, unbelievably, people have sort of already memory hold this, but it was the same after the 7th of October. By the 8th, already, the headlines were, about the Israeli retaliation. The media is obsessed by that, absolutely obsessed by what will Israel do now? And they forget the primary story. Israel would not have to do anything if it wasn't continuously being assaulted by these jihadist groups who want to eradicate it. And so, yes, but there is a great amount of ignorance too. I was watching over the weekend after this terrible atrocity against the Druze, which is, I find the Druze, I've spent a lot of time with members of that community. They're remarkable people. And it's just unbelievably appalling what happened at the weekend. But the front page of the BBC website referred to this happening in Israel-occupied Golan. So it immediately suggests there's something the Israelis are doing wrong. They're occupying the Golan, therefore
it's their fault.
Yeah, kind of. How could anyone resist rocketing a dozen school children as they're playing football? It's morally despicable that anyone would fall into that, but that is where large numbers of people in the media, that's where they sit.